It's a beautiful Friday morning in the city of Lagos, southwest Nigeria. My name is Damlola Ogunshaki. Let's move straight to the front pages of the dailies this morning, and I'm starting with Vanguard. Vanguard is leading with federal government increases petrol price to 185 naira per litre. Depot price now 167 naira per litre. Major marketers adjust prices, but queues persist. Independent marketers still sell far above new price. It's step in the right direction but insufficient. That's coming from CPPE. Labor kicks calls for mass rejection. You can see that story on page 10 of Vanguard newspaper. We have a photo story showing President Muhammadu Buhari receiving the governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, that's Mr. Godwin Emefiele, at the presidential villa, Abuja, yesterday. On page 13, we have AFDB project 3.1% GDP growth for Nigeria in 2023. Presidency, why we prefer Obi, that's coming from Obasanjo, and ORTOM. Disease outbreak kills 25 in Kano. Elections will make or mar Nigeria, that's coming from Catholic bishops. Stories above. On sport, NPFL will produce next Super Eagles goalkeepers. That's coming from Showroom. Our policeman made me waste 9 years in prison. That's coming from a 32-year-old student. You can see that on page 14, and that's on the encounter. Lastly, on Vanguard newspaper, motoring Nigeria Car of the Year, Coolray Espresso JS4. Who wears the crown? You can get that inside Vanguard newspaper. Now, away from that, let's move straight to the Punch newspaper. The Punch this morning is leading with rising petrol price. It's at 300 naira per litre. 1,000 fuel tankers stuck at depot. Queues are lengthening in Abuja, Lagos, others. Gridlock. Lagos limit filling stations to 7 hours per day sale. You can see that story on page 15. On page 16, slain NSDC officers' families get automatic employment. Kano. Federal government probes 25 deaths from throat ailment. United Nations issues new COVID-19 rules for air travel. Corps members need a special life insurance for elections. That's coming from reps. You can see that story on page 7. Stories above, article under fire for no votes, no contract remark. Lastly, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, explosion rocks Southwest APC PDP rallies. Away from there, we move to the Guardian. The Guardian this morning is leading with, again, petrol price adjusted to 185 naira per litre to appease marketers. Secret approvers of pump price, a departure from PIA objectives. Marketers seek food regulation. Just a paradise lost staging comeback on wings of golfing. CBN intensifies sensitizations, asks Nigerians to reject old banknotes from banks. You can see that story on page 10. Stories above, I won't descend to the level of people with character deficiencies, says article. Lastly, on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, dynamite injures APC supporters in Rivers rally. You can see that story on page 29 of the Guardian. And the Nation newspaper this morning is leading with Makinde, IU's deputies shun Atiku's rally in Ibadan. Why G5 governors won't join presidential campaign by autumn. Ex-vice president promises to make Southwest industrial hub. You can see that on page 29. Explosion rocks APC rally in Port Harcourt. Stories above. NJC decries state's failure to pay judges retirement benefits and others. You can see that on page 5. Lagos declares 4 work-free days for PVC's collection. CBN threatens sanction for banks over new note. And that's all we have on the front pages of dailies this morning. Join us after the break for the analysis. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Today in the News on Vanguard Live. I'm Damlola Ogunshaki. Joining us to analyze the front pages of the dailies this morning is Dr. Taye Obatero. He's an associate professor in the Department of Mass Communication, University of Jos. Good morning, Dr. Taye.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me again.
Yes, here in Lagos and also in Abuja, there's been long queues, not just in those places, other filling stations. So how do you feel about these queues when you see them, just if you've seen them?
Well, it's very terrible. It is not even just starting. We've been experiencing prior to Christmas, and it has persisted up to now. it is unfortunate that an oil-producing country will be suffering like this, that the citizens of an oil-producing country will be suffering like this just because the powers that be have refused to do what they need to do. It has got to a point now where Nigerians are saying, just make the fuel available and sell it at whatever price you want to sell it, because the suffering is too much. People spend long hours on queues, and at the end of the day, some of them end up not even getting. And what is happening now is that the fuel appears to be more available in the black market and even in the petrol filling stations. So in the typical Nigerian way, people are exploiting the gap in supply, and they are now diverting most of the supplies they get to the black market, where people are buying from between 300 and 320. So it is very unfortunate that we thought we were done with this. And when the PIA law was passed and signed, everybody was rejoicing, thinking that yes, the break that we were hoping for has come. But unfortunately, we are still where we are, and unless something is done, this does not seem to be addressing the issue. Because one key thing is it's not enough to say you are increasing from 170 to 185 when the marketers are not getting it at that price. Ipman said in their reaction to this increase that they are still lifting for as high as 240 naira per liter. So how are they going to sell it at 180? They are lifting for 240. So the issue of the supply gap still needs to be addressed if we really want things to ease up. Otherwise, we'll just be deceiving ourselves. That is my feeling about the whole thing. But Nigerians do not deserve this kind of treatment, this kind of suffering that they're having to go through when Nigeria is an oil-producing country.
Okay, according to some Nigerians, they feel that this gradual increase is like they're gradually, preparing Nigerians for the subsidy removal.
Yes, but do they need to punish the people this way because they want to remove subsidy? If you want to remove subsidy, remove subsidy. If said it is going to remove subsidy in June, why not ensure that at least between now and June, you will make whatever sacrifice you are supposed to make the fuel available. You already announced that you are removing subsidy in June, and people have already prepared their minds for that. But it's like you say, because has it become a game where you say you have to do some endurance rehearsals before you get to the main thing? People should not be punished like this. If they want to remove the subsidy, they let them remove it. But if they're saying it is June, then at least let the people enjoy it between now and that June. And then when you remove it, they know that you have removed it. Not to say you are removing in June, and people are already paying what they will pay when you remove the subsidy from now. And it is not the thing is not coming. It's not going to government. It's going to individuals because of the supply gap. So government should just do what is right and not subject people to this suffering. No matter what, like I said, Nigerians will not deserve this kind of suffering. People are going to spend hours on queues with the dangers and even the disruptions to their livelihood. It is not fair at all.
But with the price that they've increased, Labour is saying that Nigerians should reject this price increase. And of course, according to what they are listening, Nigerians love to adjust. Do you think Nigerians will come out to reject this price?
Well, Nigerians are not known to be reacting to situations. They keep on lamenting, but they end up not really doing anything. People have done studies on all kind of people and the reactions to issues, and somebody has likened to people just move that when you even push Nigerians to the wall, if it's possible, they would rather break the wall and enter the wall and face you and fight. That is and then of course, Labour that is talking has not has abdicated his responsibility. Over the years, we have not seen Labour respond to issues affecting Nigerians. So their call may just not have any impact because Nigerians don't really take the NSC seriously again. They've not really lived up to expectation in terms of fighting for the rights of the people. A lot of things have happened in the last years where the situation of Nigerians are getting worse. Inflation is rising, and nobody is talking about salary increase or whatever. And Labour has been quiet about it. So Labour, as far as I'm concerned, does not have that clout to be able to mobilize Nigerians again.
All right, let's move away from that. So, Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi seems to have a lot of people, throwing their weight behind him now. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo explained why he endorsed presidential candidate of Labour Party, that's Peter Obi. He said that if he failed to do the right thing, he will be punished by God. And Governor ORTOM also explained that although Peter Obi, like most human beings, is not perfect, but he possesses good qualities of a kind leader and all that. What do you think about him having, this people, personnel, throwing their weight behind him and saying their reasons?
Yes, Peter Obi as a candidate has it going for him, having such personalities like Obasanjo and the other governors supporting him. But that is just as far as it goes. Where it is, or the other candidates too have their own supporters who also believe that they stand a very good chance. So it's a good thing that people like Obasanjo and ORTOM and his group are supporting Obi. It is good for Obi as a candidate. What remains to be seen is translating those into real votes when the election eventually comes. Because as far as I'm concerned, mouthing support is a good thing, but translating into votes is the one that actually counts at the end of the day. So how much votes they are able to mobilize for him to justify their support is what will matter at the end of the day. So for me, we'll wait and see how weighty their support will be in terms of votes for Obi, because other candidates too are not they're not sleeping, and they also have their own supporters too who believe that they stand a chance. So it's a wait and see game, and we'll see how it turns out.
All right, it's just few days to the election. So, how prepared are you? Days leading to this election.
Yeah, one thing that as I've noticed is the level of awareness that has been created. When you look at points where the people are collection points for PVCs, the number is increasing, and you see the resolve of the youth not to be dissuaded from collecting. I've seen cases where youth were whipped by security people, but they refused to disperse, insisting that they must take their PVCs. So there appears to be better awareness among the youth now to ensure that they participate in the coming election, and the PVC they know is the only way they will be able to participate, and they appear determined to make sure that they get their PVCs. You see crowds in many of the collection centers, and you also see the resolve of the youth not to give up or to be dissuaded from waiting to collect their PVCs. I think that's good for the country. We're likely to see an improvement in the voter turnout in the coming election.
CBN intensifies sensitization, asks Nigerians to reject old banknotes from banks, and the deadline is January 31st. And if you go to ATMs around you, they're still dispensing the old banknotes. And now CBN is saying that Nigerians should reject these banknotes from the banks. What are your takes on this?
Yes, I can only reject banknotes if I go physically to a bank and I'm being offered an old note. What do I do if an ATM dispenses old notes? How do I reject it? So sometimes you wonder how our regulatory bodies or even the people at the helm of affairs look at things. When you say reject, can I reject old notes issued to me by the ATM? The important thing as a regulatory body is to enforce what if you are sure that you have given these banks sufficient notes to go around for them to go to the people, then you should also be able to exert your authority to ensure that after we have had cases where CBN will sanction banks for not abiding by certain regulations. Why is it difficult to do that in this situation? So if people are getting old notes from the ATM of a particular bank, why not sanction that bank? And that will serve as a deterrent, and they will not put it there again. So the only way it will work is if people go physically to the banks, and we also know what that means. It means that there will be a crowd, kind of unwanted crowd that we normally see in banks if people have to go physically. But the ATMs at least should not dispense old notes again, and the CBN has the responsibility to ensure that this is enforced. So it is not sufficient for CBN to ask people to reject. They must also take appropriate action that will ensure that the banks comply, because people are helpless in the circumstance. If the old nose is what the ATM is giving to me and I need money to spend, what do I do? So the CBN should actually just sit up and do what it needs to do. I want to believe that if the banks have sufficient notes, there's no reason for them not to give it to them.
Hmm. All right, thank you very much, Dr. Taye. But let's end this with Mr. and Mrs. The first person speaking this morning is Mr. He's talking to Mrs. He says, "You know, I will do anything for you. You asked me to whisper something. You asked me to whisper something soft and sweet into your ear, and I said, chocolates. Have I said the wrong thing? Okay, what about banana?"
Yeah, I don't mention money. It's money you mention. That's the one that will make do the magic.
Yes, chocolate is just there for you to eat. We need the money is actually the main thing. Thank you very
Yes, but
much.
for a woman, it is money that will make the.
Thank you, Dr. Tayo Bartero, Associate Professor in the Department of Mass Communication, University of Jos. Thanks for analyzing the stories with us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes. And of course, that's all we have for you on Today in the News. To get more of our top stories, you can follow us on all our social media platforms showing on your screen on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Our WhatsApp number is also displayed on your screen. Today is Friday. Enjoy your weekend.